Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I'm glad to have secured this debate on the pressing issues of protecting and restoring wetlands in the UK. As the Minister knows, I never duck an opportunity to talk about Slimbridge, wetlands and flamingos, and I understand that I have until 7:30 tonight, of which I also understand I probably would never be allowed to speak again in the House, although I could fill that time. I am blessed to have Slimbridge in my Stroud constituency, which is the headquarters of WWT, and I only live down the road too. I told a Gloucestershire Live reporter this week that I find it's complete madness that previous Stroud MPs have never used their expertise and really highlighted them on a national stage. And we now, really grateful for everyone's involvement, we have an all-party parliamentary group, and wetlands are very much a feature of DEFRA's constant discussions, mainly because I am pesting everybody all of the time. But it is a great pleasure. Slimbridge is a place that creates calm as you are literally walking amongst the most beautiful birds and wildlife, while also learning about conservation successes and challenges on the way. My daughters love Welly Boot Land, and years ago I didn't get any phone reception at Slimbridge, so I used to go and hide there from everywhere, and it was beautiful. So World Wetlands Day on the 2nd of February celebrates the creation of an international treaty, the Convention on Wetlands, that was in 1976. I thank the Minister for taking the time to visit Slimbridge experts last week and for her advocacy on this issue, and also previous ministers who I'm grateful are also in attendance tonight. Wetlands are some of the most threatened habitats in the world, yet also the most vital for wildlife and people. In the UK, we have many types of wetlands, from coastal habitats like salt marsh, seagrass and estuaries, to inland features like ponds, lakes, rivers, streams, bogs, fens, swamps, marshes and peatland. The Severn Estuary is a true gem in my constituency. This site is key for supporting internationally important numbers on dunlin, redshank, wren plover, black-tailed godwit, shelduck, teal, pintail and I'm not even going to try and say that, but it is incredibly important. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Can I commend the Honourable Lady for Stroud for bringing this forward? And I've noticed in the time that the Honourable Lady has been in this House, one of her greatest interests has been the wetlands and the trust in Slimbridge as well. Castle Espy in outside Cumber, my constituency at Strangford, is part of the Wetlands and Wildlife Trust as well. So does the Honourable Member not agree that bodies such as the Castle Espy Wildlife and Wetland Trust and the work that they carry out is essential when you consider that almost the entire world's population of Brent geese resides in and around there in Strangford Lough during the winter months, and this takes time and money, which needs to be better supported by government. I fully support what the Honourable Lady is trying to achieve. I know the benefits she gets for Stroud, we will get for Cumber.
Thank the honourable gentleman, and I will very much like to visit his Brent geese at some stage, but because it is just so important for the conservation and awareness, I encourage all members to go and get their social media clips with their wetlands and wildfowl. The Convention on Wetlands is also known as the Ramsar Convention. It's crucial as an international treaty aimed at conserving and promoting the sustainable use of wetlands. It's actually the oldest global intergovernmental environmental agreements in the world. It sets the standards for international cooperation on environmental action, where other more high-profile international agreements have followed. And I'm really proud to say that the UK government was an early signatory of this convention back in the 70s. This underlines our commitment to preserving these valuable ecosystems, and WWT plays a significant role as one of the 6 international organisational partners involved in the implementation. So various stakeholders, including environmental non-government organisations, contribute to this collaborative effort, showing the importance of partnerships on safeguarding our wetlands. I will take my thanks. Thank you
to my honourable friend, both for initiating this debate and for kindly letting me say a word about the Freshwater Habitats Trust, whose New Forest representative Thea I met at the volunteer fair put on by the National Park Authority only last weekend. And it is amazing what these volunteers contribute, not least the New Forest Water Code, and other great pointers and advice as to how we can keep these precious but delicate environments safe.
Thank you. That's such an important intervention, and to bring alive the freshwater volunteers and just how many people are gripped by this environmental work and just really take it to their hearts and run with it. But I would say that the Wetlands Squad is true squad goals, because they really do work together and work with a range of different people around this country and also around the world. And Ramsar sites, the protective wetlands of international importance, are some of the UK's most precious natural treasures. And the UK has more Ramsar sites than anywhere else in the world. We've got 175, and these sites are the equivalent of the White Cliffs of Dover or Stonehenge in their significance to our cultural identity of our nation, a country renowned for its wet weather. I will take an intervention. Thank you.
I thank the honourable member for securing this debate in the same week as World Wetlands Day. And I wanted to contribute some information about Seaton wetlands, and in particular the Black Hole Marsh. Because before 2008, the Black Hole Marsh was just a drained agricultural field. But the Environment Agency worked with a local engineering company to devise a tidal exchange gate that allows in salt water to ensure that the lagoon has just the right salinity. And since that happened, it's led to the return of the dunlin, the ringed plover and the black-tailed godwit. So does she think that the tidal exchange gate innovation is something that might be replicated elsewhere, perhaps?
I think the opportunities for wetlands and this work is absolutely endless, and I'll be interested to hear from the Minister if she has. I know there's been an extraordinary amount of investment in my honourable friend's neck of the woods and also around the country in this work, so I think it will be really helpful to hear more about these opportunities and the innovation to which my friend speaks. So I think thinking about the history, thinking about all my different colleagues here bringing alive their own experiences of wetlands, I do believe the UK can really celebrate World Wetlands Day, hold our head up high because of our history, because of our early signatory to the convention. And if we choose to lead on this multifaceted environmental masterclass that are wetlands, we will be able to command immediate respect because of our history and because of our work so far. I will take the intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I congratulate the Honourable Member for Stratford on securing this important debate. And without being competitive, obviously Somerset does have some amazing wetland sites and indeed Ramsar sites. But Somerset Wetlands is England's largest supranational nature reserve, which includes the West Sedgemoor in my constituency. So does the Honourable Member for Stroud agree with me that declarations such as this are crucial in reversing nature's decline and in the fight against climate change?
I think it's. I will come on to the fight with climate change because you are absolutely right. My honourable friend speaks about Somerset. We know that the investment, £20 million, I think, went in for flood resilience, the work going on with farmers, and that expertise that she speaks to is able to be sold around this country and also exported around the world. So I'm excited for her to be able to speak so fondly of that. So I think with volunteers in mind, I do want to speak to the current situation with our wetland. I'm sending love, respect and absolute hugs to all of the Slimbridge volunteers, of which we couldn't do the conservation work without them, because it is a sad fact that for centuries we've not been looking after our wetlands. There hasn't been that love and care that perhaps everyone in this room would want to see. A staggering 75% of our UK wetlands have been lost over 300 years. So this is not just a recent thing, it's 300 years. And while the rate of decline is now slowing because of a lot of the work that's going on, the precious few wetlands that do remain are under considerable pressure, and we would say are in a poorer condition than we would like, so we think that we could do much more work. So I'm going to speak very briefly about what we should be focusing on now, and over the coming months I would welcome a renewed push on 4 transformative steps that would speed up the progress of creating and restoring 100,000 additional hectares. I would invite everybody in this room to come and join the APPG for wetlands, to join this fight, because it is crucial for the net zero targets. And I would like action, but I will also take manifesto commitments. So if that is it, so I think for the number one, I'd say a commitment to a national. I will give way. Thank you.
The priorities. Mr. Deputy Speaker, can I just set out how impressive The member for Stroud has persuaded me as a former minister and colleagues across this House about the wonderful benefits of wetlands. We are all more knowledgeable thanks to the Honourable Member for Stroud and the work of WWT in her constituency. And I wonder if she will also recognise, as well as the benefits for climate change and biodiversity, the benefits to our health, our mind, body and soul, that can really appreciate the value of spending time in green and blue spaces. There seems to be some competition, Mr Deputy Speaker, 32 miles of coastline and many lakes. I am a wet land in the English Lake District. But the benefit to our mental health and our physical health cannot be underestimated. And also that a wetland could be just as much as a pond, and that the 30 million gardeners across this great land also can play a significant part.
Absolutely right, and I know my right honourable friend is a keen walker and gets out into the environment as much as possible, but to be beside water has a particularly tranquil effect on most people, and it's certainly something WWT campaigns on because we know the benefits. So I would say my requests: commit to a national strategy for the UK wetlands, because I also know that actually most of the work has already been done. So let's label it a national strategy and let's pull it all together, because I think DEFRA is doing some great work. I'd like to see a dedicated domestic wetlands team at DEFRA, really to ape the success of the Peat team, which I know are brilliant and really experts. If I can't have a whole team, I will take a named civil servant that we can go to who really owns all the different moving parts, because I know it's in lots of different parts of the DEFRA family. To create a nutrient offsetting code to help rebuild investor confidence in that market, to provide guidance and training for national flood management to ensure land managers and councils and practitioners can take advantage of these options, to create a salt marsh restoration grant scheme as we've done for peatland and scale up the salt marsh creation through the Nature for Climate Fund, and to require new developments to include sustainable urban drainage systems. There's already Schedule 3 that we believe should be enacted, and I've spoken to that in the House on a number of occasions. But as I said, lots of very, very good work. I think we should talk about it more and perhaps pull it all together, because wetlands are nature's secret weapon. And I recall when the Honourable Member for Copeland came to Slimbridge, and we had a mic drop moment when the experts explained that wetlands can store 18 times more carbon than trees, and while a tree takes 10 years to get to its full pace, Mr Deputy Speaker, wetlands are instant. And I think the slogan for wetlands should be basically #JustAddWater. Just add water for environmental clout, for well-being, for flood defence, for carbon storage and for water quality too. Now I understand the Minister will speak to some of the work that the government is doing, because there is an awful lot. But I do think that if there was more awareness about what is going on, I don't think we would have seen the nutrient neutrality drama that was going on and some of the firefighting that ministers were having to do, because so much work was actually there, but nobody had mentioned it. And I think home builders are already kind of getting there. We just need to light the touch paper and let everyone run. So on the just a few points, I'm not going to go. I've got a lot more to say. Mr Deputy Speaker has a life to get to at some stage. I know how long hours that he works. But listen, the powerful benefits, British wildlife. I think this place talks too much about targets and carbon stuff. Actually, species and wildlife people get. And the reality is, in the UK, wetlands cover only 3% of land, but they support 10% of its species. You can see how we can scale up on biodiversity and support if we really do invest and think through and protect our wetlands. On flood resilience, the government's Green Recovery Challenge Fund helps projects such as WWT's Two Valleys slow the flow, use the effectiveness of natural flood management. That stops flood pressure on properties downstream to Somerset. I know some of this work is going on in councils all around the country, but let's bring it to life and sort of stop the devastating impacts of things like Storm Henk that we saw recently. On water pollutant filters, I know from the Minister's previous brief, she's worked extraordinarily hard on sewage and the old Victorian networks that we are trying to repair. But what we do know is specially engineered wetlands called treatment wetlands have the potential to remove up to 60% of metals trapped and retain up to 90% of sediment runoff and eliminate 90% of nitrogen. We can use wetlands for removing pollutants in water. And to the point on the physical well-being, spending just 10 minutes in urban wetlands has shown to yield extensive improvements. And I urge everyone to go down to Bridgewater and see the juxtaposition of the big high-rises and the wetlands that have been created and people using those through through COVID and beyond. The Climate Change Committee has stressed the importance of protecting and restoring salt marsh and seagrass because they are so efficient at carbon removal, and the long-term salt marshes bury carbon 40 times faster than woodland. Now, I get that government are obsessed with trees because you can count them, and we like to have measurable things. However, we have got other options as well. So do the trees, but let's do the wetlands as well. And the economic benefits. The WWT has a superb Blue Leaders group of businesses. They have backed this because they can see the benefits and they want to invest in the environmental power of this country. So they're doing it through wetlands, and people like Aviva put a massive amount of money in because they can see for their customers and their employees this stuff works for the country and beyond. So in short, wetlands have a nature-boosting, flood-busting, carbon-sinking, mood-lifting, water-cleaning superpowers. So why are we not making more of them, or even more of them? Because I know exactly how much work the Minister and others are doing on this. Thank you.
Yeah.